Hi, I'm Sacha. I'm the co-founder of Tinfoil. I actually do a lot of my PhD on anonymity related stuff. So it's something I think a lot about as we're building Tinfoil, even though our primary focus is on privacy and providing privacy when you use AI models. So just a little bit about Tinfoil. We're building verifiably private AI using confidential computing. Specifically, we use Intel PDX and BSC VSNP, which is like a secure enclave technology like this, and we combine this with NVIDIA confidential computing GPUs to run AI models, big AI models, efficiently and privately. And so we like to call this end-to-end privacy. So everything that you send gets encrypted directly to this trusted execution environment. And then this ensures that all your prompts, responses, and other user data stays private. But our primary focus is not around like protecting metadata. Like we don't build stuff to prevent people from seeing that you're using tinfoil or what model you're accessing. We just care about protecting the prompts, responses, and user data. But because I did my PhD on metadata privacy, I do care about how tinfoil meshes with other anonymity technology. And I think this is actually a really important philosophy to think about, because we should not really be in the business of building new anonymity tools. There's a lot of anonymity tools that exist already. And that is something that someone else's expertise should be and focus should be placed on. But what we should really care about is that tinfoil works really well with these existing tools. Right? So we need to work really hard on making our stuff private and make it work with other things, other technologies that enable anonymity. So for example, this is our chat, and this is connected to backup, just to give you some context, and then you can verify that everything is running in the TE using that verification center. This is not too important for the talk, but I just kind of wanted to give you some context. And so the idea is that whenever a user submits a query, this query is encrypted to a key that lives inside the secure enclave. Tinfoil runs this on a cloud server. And so all the prompts and responses are end-to-end encrypted for the secure enclave. And so this is kind of the context of private inference. So data is encrypted directly to the enclave and stays encrypted. And so, to reiterate, what is private here is all queries, responses, web search events, and such things. What is not private is like token count, the fact that you're using it, your account info, like email address or name, and IP address from which you're connecting, right? So all of this is kind of metadata that is not related to just the prompts and responses. And so this is not something we're focused on hiding ourselves, but we do want to make it possible for people to hide this if they want to. But as hopefully, how many hours this has been, like 4 hours of talks, have shown, metadata privacy is really hard. And it's not something you don't want to reinvent the wheel. And so how to like, this is what I want to kind of present here is like ways in which we've kind of built tinfoil, and specifically our chat product, to make it friendly with or mesh well with metadata privacy. I'll kind of skip this because I think a lot of people are talking about. But one thing we really think a lot about is like the fact that a usage graph kind of looks like this. It's not it's an exponential graph. Like, so some people are power users and a lot of people who are not. And so if you want to kind of hide the power users, you would need to like either create a lot of network traffic, and you have to start thinking about anonymous currencies and things like that to provide metadata privacy. So it's a really hard problem, but everyone in this room knows that. And so what I really care about is how to make this tinfoil more anonymity friendly, basically. And what I mean by this is like, how do we make it work well with tools like Tor, browsers like Brave that strip a lot of trackers and JavaScript. How do we make it work well with ad blockers? How do we make it work well? How do we make accounts work well with email aliases? A lot of our users, they sign up with throwaway email accounts, and then how do we make it possible for people to pay with the cryptocurrencies and things like that. And so it turns out that like, if you think about anonymity from the get-go as you're building a privacy system, you can make it fairly. You don't have to put a lot of effort in to make it mesh well with all of these tools that exist out there and work really well. That's kind of what I want to point out. So the first thing we did was make the web chat work well with VPNs. And so I think, as Chelsea pointed out, when people use Tor, they get bombarded with CAPTCHAs. But we also want to benefit from Cloudflare and their DDoS protection. But so the way we achieve this is by disabling a lot of the bot protection from like our auth provider and Cloudflare. So we still get like some of the benefits of DDoS protection, but we don't have this like invasive CAPTCHAs and things that run that would like block the website when people use VPNs or they use Tor. So that's like a small thing you can do. By default, you have all these invasive things that get added to your website, or on the clerk authentication provider, like that's a default setting is to have CAPTCHAs, and if you just disable that, you already improve the user experience for a lot of people that do use anonymity tools. The second thing is to like remove Google from a lot of things, because it's very common. LLMs will just insert, you ask for a specific font, they'll just insert a link to Google to download that font. And so every time someone loads the website, if they block Google, they won't get the nice font. And it's really a simple step of just downloading the font and bundling it with your application. But no one does that. And when you like vibe code your website, like you'll have like a bunch of Google scripts in there. Another more subtle thing is, for example, when we do web search, we want to display the search results with little favicons saying like, these are all the little favicons of the websites that the agent fetched. And so while the agent fetched those websites privately, which I'll explain in a little bit, but I think Anthony also kind of explained how you can do that. If you use the most common way to fetch favicons is to use Google, and so then Google sees like everything, all the websites that the agent fetched. And so we solve this by essentially having a little server running in a secure enclave that uses DuckDuckGo to fetch favicons. But the nice thing here is that DuckDuckGo actually doesn't see the IP address of the user. And all DuckDuckGo sees is that, tinfoil enclave made a request for this website. And so you have this like a slight unlinkability you do have unlinkability from the user and DuckDuckGo. So tinfoil sees the IP address of the user, DuckDuckGo sees the IP address of the cloud server. As long as like, tinfoil doesn't collude with DuckDuckGo, the privacy of like the favicons that are fetched is intact. And like there's simple choices you can make, like use Apple Maps instead of Google Maps or things like that. Yeah.
How I'm a little bit confused how the metadata fetcher fits in. So you have can you just take it like 1 or 2 steps back? Like how does something get routed to the metadata fetcher to be?
Yeah. So the agent returns, like we'll do a web search and it will get back like a bunch of links and contents for those links, and a nice UX feature is to display like little favicons next to the so either the client could directly talk to Google or DuckDuckGo and fetch those.
But where in that flow do you insert yourself so things get rerouted to the metadata fetcher?
This is on the web app side, like on the actual application side. So the application is like, okay, I have all these links, I need favicons. It will make a request to the enclave.
But are you changing the web application?
No, we're building it.
It's when the enclave calls.
I see. It's your web application.
Yeah, it's our web application. Okay, sorry, that makes sense.
It's like a preview for a URL.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so that does more than just favicons. It also does previews and stuff. But yeah, so like our web application could either directly contact DuckDuckGo, which would leak your IP address to DuckDuckGo. Here it leaks your IP, leaks your IP address to tinfoil, but it doesn't leak the content of what you want to tinfoil. And another thing, this is super easy now, and it's super easy to enable. But like, for a while we didn't want to enable cryptocurrency payments on Tinfoil because that required a lot of additional infrastructure for handling. Like, we would have to handle like both credit cards and cryptocurrencies, and we wanted to simplify as much as possible. But like today, it's just you just have to like enable this on Stripe, and you can use Stripe to accept both cryptocurrencies and credit cards, which is great. And but it's not enabled by default, so that's something you can just like go select like, yes, I want this, and that's a huge boost in anonymity because now people don't have to like reveal a credit card with their name on it. So another thing is supporting email aliases out of the box. This makes it really hard, like things like sign in with Apple. And Proton Mail also has all these like email aliases. It's kind of easy to just have this enabled by default, but like sign in with Apple is not something people often offer. Like it's mostly just sign in with Google. So just going the extra mile of offering something like this is already super helpful. And then being aware that like when people email you, they're emailing you with an alias that probably doesn't is not associated with like their actual account. And being mindful of that early on, and not asking them like what's your account, or like saying like, okay, I understand the problem, like can you like provide some, or being empathetic with the user that they don't want to actually like reveal their email address, and so like having support for this and thinking about how you're going to debug when you won't actually have the real address that people use to sign up. Okay, this is super stupid, but yeah, again, many of these auth providers require like one phone numbers for two-factor authentication, and if you disable that, it's like super easy to do and provides a lot of like privacy to people. And so coming back to the other thing, like there's a lot of instances where you might want to proxy. You can easily like gain a lot of anonymity by just like allowing people to proxy their request through a secure enclave. You can think of this as kind of like a version of HTTP. And so this is what we do for web search. I mean, Anthony kind of described a similar system where you can proxy. And so like the search provider will see the query, but not know who initiated it. And Tinfoil knows who initiated, but not see the contents of the query. And so this is another thing that's that we implemented to kind of help. And then one final thing that we did is it's easy to kind of think like, okay, everyone wants to have like cloud sync because it's so great, like you can sync your chats across devices, but you like thinking about how can you maximize or make your application work with as much data stored locally as possible, or how can you maximize the local processing and like give users as much control as possible over their data, I think is really important, but it requires to kind of think about this early on, because it's a lot harder to kind of retrofit your application to run locally than it is to build a local application and extend it to the cloud, in my opinion, and experience. So I think, this like just having the ability to only store your chats locally and not have them sync across devices has been something that our users really appreciated. That's it. Yeah. So I'm happy to take questions.
I have one question. I think this was mentioned in the last talk, actually, so kind of my mind is, but how much harder is your accounting with all of this anonymity friendly functionality?
Well, so I think we haven't implemented anonymous tokens and stuff like that, right? That will be the kind of next step we have to do, but that adds a lot of complexity. So that's why I said, what are like some really simple practical things you can do that really boost a lot, give users a lot of anonymity and especially compatibility with existing tools, right? So today you can use Tinfoil, you can pay with cryptocurrency, you can sign up with a fake email, you can use a VPN or Tor. Everything should work pretty well, and we will have no idea who you are. We would see like the request you make, but like we wouldn't see your IP address because you used like Tor. We wouldn't know who you are because like you used fake email, and and I think like that's kind of gets you 90% of the way. If we want to go even further, then we do something with like blind tokens that you can like pre-purchase ahead of time and stuff like that. But yeah, that last mile creates an exponential amount of complexity because now you have to really start re-architecting the system. So yeah, this was really about practical things.
You
Yeah.
mentioned Stripe. Does Stripe see the like suppose I give my credit card details? Does
Yeah.
Stripe see the credit card details or the encrypted? And like I know that
Stripe sees it, yeah.
encrypts it and gives it to the bank, but whether it sees
It's even worse than that. Like we could theoretically go to Stripe and see like some not the credit card number, but we could see like the name on the credit card, for example.
you as in like
Tinfoil,
is
yeah.
like, as
Yeah.
the host operator.
Yeah.
Okay.
But with the cryptocurrency, we would not be able to. Right.
Okay.
But at the same time, like
But
we
Stripe cannot see. You're saying.
no, Stripe can see it. Stripe can see everything. Yeah.
Okay.
Like Google.
Stripe can see your credit card number and your credit card name and your credit card expiration date and everything else. We may only see like the expiration date and like type of credit card. I don't think we see the credit card number.
I think the
yeah.
last four.
Yeah, we only see the last four. Yeah.
Yeah.
So but Stripe sees everything because they charge it, right? So
Why do you see the last four digits of the credit card? How-
because Stripe hides it from us. Stripe hides it from like everyone.
No, but like, as in, if does it not go through the on team? How does the flow work?
Oh no, you like purchase tokens ahead of time through Stripe,
Oh, okay.
right? Like you purchase a certain amount of like credits.
Okay.
Or you purchase a subscription. So we like, and the subscription is associated to your email. That's how we like authenticate you. That's how we know that like you're allowed to like access the enclave.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is for like the free subscription.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But if yeah, but if you pay with cryptocurrency, then like we would not see anything. Yeah.
I guess.
But still.
I guess.
Well, no, they wouldn't know your credit card. Like you could sign up with a fake account.
I have no idea.
Yeah.
About to say. This is kind of a question for the two for all of you guys. I think that when building privacy technologies, you give up the ability to use user data either to sell it or just to improve the product.
Mhm.
And especially in this latter category, I'm curious, like, do you guys have particular use cases or particular kinds of data where you really feel that is a pain point? And do you have workarounds? Because you could imagine these like fully closed systems where the data is like still being used, but in some TE-based mechanism.
We aggressively dog food. Like and I think that's like number one. I think another great thing is like privacy. I mean, the hardcore privacy community, like they're really vocal. So yeah, so we're very
Just look at
lucky.
my email inbox.
Yeah. So I think that's a very nice, like, as soon as something breaks somewhere, we get an email. And it's really niche stuff. Like, I wouldn't necessarily, like, I use tinfoil a lot myself. I would not necessarily find all these bugs. People find them within, like, 5 minutes, you know, like, of it breaking. So I think, like, there's, like, listening to your users, but also developing relationships with users, because I think, like, you are much more dependent on there's no like screen replay like on ChatGPT. Like they would probably record your screen like literally if you
It's
yeah.
scary how many apps out there
Yeah.
record your screen and send it
Yeah.
to
so you get like these session replays of like how people use the chat. We don't see anything. Like the only thing we have is plausible analytics, which kind of says like there's this many people that use your chat, and that we only use that to like track growth.
I can add one other thing. So on the back end, like we because we was like, you know, like the kind of the orchestration and then the models, like we really need like system metrics. So like, you know, things like, you know, like what's the KV cache size now, which is the GPU being utilized, like, you know, like what is like the average like token sizes and stuff, because like you have to do a lot of like routing and so on and so forth. So metrics, like kind of like the balance that we have there, it's like we will exfiltrate like, you know, like Prometheus like metrics and like collect like all of this in aggregate. You can see exactly what metrics are being like exposed, because like you can audit the code and like
And we also need them for billing, right?
yeah but like that really helps with like, you know, diagnosing like, oh, like, you know, like time to first token is like gone up by a lot, there's like some problem here, There's no logs, so there's like, because like we're not exfiltrating logs, and like logs are where like a lot of like anonymity, like leakage or like privacy compromises like happen. Just like in like various institutions. Aggregated metrics, especially if you don't have like extremely high dimensionality, which is like bad metrics practices anyway. That doesn't give you too much. So yeah, like all of that is public, it's all verifiable and auditable, and then it's only like aggregate metrics. So I think that's another kind of thing just for system functionality.
And then going to your question, like where does it hurt sometimes is like I think the user prompt, like the system prompt that you give your system, or like the reliability of the agents, right? Like so many services out there will analyze like user happiness levels, right? Like is your user content with the request? Like is the user happy? Like where did the agent go wrong? Like a lot of those things that you just like don't see anymore running a service like this. So it's like you can't like improve your prompts or improve your it's harder to if you never really see where the agent went wrong. And then a lot of the models are like special snowflakes, and like you kind of have to like prompt them a specific way in order to get what you want, and some may over index on certain system prompts, so it's like you kind of have no insight. So it's like unfortunately it's like when a user signs up and then like and this just goes by billing events, right? Like they sign up, they pay for the service, and then they like cancel the service the next day. It's like, well, fuck, they never emailed you, you never saw the lie, you don't know where it went wrong, you don't know did the model mess up, like so with those things it's like you kind of have no insights on. So it's like you really do need to over index on like what do the users say that are using your service and coming to you, and then that's kind of the only metric you can really improve things on. Besides just like general reliability.
Have you looked into like private but like adapting systems? We have like some meta private systems like updating system prompts and these kind of things.
Yeah, I mean you could run a sort of like prompt engineering, like self-reflecting system inside a TEE. And then in a self-correct, you could self-correct agents on a user by user level. I mean if the trust boundary is still the TEE, you can have you can have like a second LLM be a judge watching over the user's request. I mean, like all of this would be in the TE if you were to do it, and like I thought about it, but we haven't done that yet, and it's like it would still live within the threat model of the user, right, and the TE and how they're already using the application. But it's one of those things where like if it goes wrong, you have no idea why. Like if the judge was completely incorrect, or like there's a runaway model and the judge is like, I don't know, encouraging bad behavior. I don't know. You just have no insights if something were to go wrong. So I just don't do that at all. I let the user customize their own system prompts, or if something's not working correctly, I say go tell the agent to like fix it or something.
Yeah, we kind of in a analogous position where like you would want to do it, but you need to be able to trust that the model's changes are like not gonna violate some constraint.
Like we found a lot of success doing like evals outside. Like we would like do a lot of figure out like when like we did this for a web search. Like we have a little classifier that checks if the query contains private information about the user. And so we had to like run evals to see like, does this flag too much? Does it not flag? Like what is the right balance? Because sometimes like it would if you kind of just let it run, it will like it will get triggered on like an address of like a McDonald's, right? Because it's like, oh, an address is private information. So we had to like adjust the prompts to be like, is this like a semi-public address? Is it like paired with the user or things like that, right? And so that would have been really easy to run in prod and kind of analyze like, oh, like these are all the queries that got blocked, these are all the queries that didn't, and then you like look at them. But because we can't see the queries, we had to simulate all of this, and we had to find a data set of like potential queries, and we had to like adjust that and like run it, and that took a long time. So it's not impossible. I talked to some people at Signal, and like they don't collect almost any metrics, or they don't know when stuff breaks, and like Signal is a pretty good application. And they just like do these same techniques, like they dog food a lot, they ask their users, and they run a lot of evals. So I think it's possible to build a great user experience, but you just have to kind of be more mindful. It's kind of similar to like anonymity.
I have one more question. So when you said that you allow the user to verify an audit, do they typically audit the executable or do they audit the source code?
They audit the source code. I mean, they have their AI agent audits the source code.
And are the comments that the executable corresponds to the source code? Or they have
That
no
is
way-
easy to verify because like the
Hash also.
the hash, everything is like here. You can kind of go on chat.finfo.sh, but you can see there's like this little replication sidebar, and that contains all like the hashes and everything you need to know. And you can compare that to like the GitHub releases.
Like, as in, do they build it from the GitHub source and then get the hash?
Yeah,
from
you
that?
could do that. We have a GitHub action like build it and sign it, so you can just like compare. You know, if you trust GitHub, you can compare the GitHub hash to this hash, and you know that that's the same repo.
Okay.
And
Reproducible soon.
yeah, we're working on making everything like reproducible builds,
Reproducible is
but
hard.
right now there's this like little like component of GitHub.
You also rolled out like a LLM assisted fact checker.
Yeah,
like,
so
something
that's a very like beta,
Work
it's
in
alpha,
progress.
it's a work in progress. But like another thing we are doing right now is that every time we release a new version of anything, we have the idea would be to like have an AI model analyze the diff. Like, you know, like if we add a malicious like log in there that like, you know, it starts exfiltrating like your prompts, like the agent will flag that. And the agent runs inside of TE, so you can like kind of, you know, it's all bootstrapped.
So now like the codex security is open source and it's like OpenAI's like security with humorness, and so like you could put that in Anonymity and like you could have all of our code is open source anyway, so you know doesn't really matter if like you know they can see it. The point is that there's like something that's like, external for you to like verify on it.
Cool. We could ask one more. Yeah, sorry. So in your user base, so you mentioned, you know, privacy conscious users in your inbox. But you guys also like you just serve a lot of inference to, I assume, like B2B basically.
Yeah.
And who cares about this? Like obviously you guys care, which I appreciate, and some of your like more privacy extreme users care. On the like more B2B side of things, is like where do you guys see people caring about privacy features?
Anthony, here's
More business.
I mean, there's a number. So one of the public ones is DuckDuckGo. Actually, it's a Duck.ai. Like uses tinfoil. At least they only use us partly, mostly because it's like reliability. So basically, it's like they want to make sure that like DuckDuckGo's server to tinfoil is kind of like what they're encrypting. They still don't have like end-to-end tinfoil.
from the
but, like,
client to
so-
the TE.
so, like,
They
the-
don't trust
the
you.
things-
Yeah.
So they don't trust us, and their users don't have to trust us. But so it's like kind of like zero data retention plus plus. It's like Duck.ai can still see it, but that is something that they want to close the loop on as well. So that's one. We are we work with some like financial prop trading style companies as well. There's a number of like legal like some open source projects, but also just like other people building like legal assistance, because like one of the big problems is like, you know, ChatGPT and stuff is like subpoenaable, and like that's something that especially like lawyers care a lot about. So they when they you know when they build like, so they can use our chat directly, but many of them are also building like other sorts of like, you know, kind of applications for like the legal space. So that then like Trail of Bits was using us for a few things, and then like they also wrote about us a bunch, and so now we have like number of like audit agencies and like more mobility researchers using us.
We also have some organizations that like really care about the privacy of their code infrastructure, and what they were doing before tinfoil was building a parallel infrastructure to kind of PII redact and everything before it would even touch an LLM.
Yeah.
And they realized like, you know, they were spending more time building this like parallel infrastructure to like allow a model to come into their code base. And they could just throw all of that away and like just use tinfoil and like, not worry about environment variables or like email addresses or other like of their users PII leaking through the coding agent to someone else. And so like yeah, they just use this for coding. Yeah.
Why is you into tinfoil?
Isn't that self-explanatory? We wear tinfoil hats at home.
I see.
We fit them away before we go out of college.